Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with Let's Play Shining Force 2 Part 2! Shining Force 2 Scenario 1 Part 2. I should probably start specifying. So, we walk out of the room and we have Grace, who asks to not be left behind. And we remember seeing her outside with Mascarin. She is our group's healer. And I think she's supposed to be a halfling, kind of like Doyle or Geralt, maybe a beastman of some sort. It's kind of hard to say, because they don't really say what she is. And Mascarin is hiding somewhere because she thinks she's going to get in trouble, which she's going to, because Dantarius is not quite happy with him getting in trouble during the peace conference or during the conference. So. But we say we won't punish her. Or Symbio says he won't punish her. I'll let her get away with just a warning this time. Just a warning. And she comes down with something behind her back. And she's got flowers. So, where did she get flowers from? Well, she got flowers from that messenger who looked like a mage before he became a knight. So, that was the same person. And now we have a flower to prove it. And she just completely brushes off Dantarius. Symbios received a cut flower. That will actually play a purpose later in the game. Which means we get to hold on to it for a while. Mascarin the Magician and Grace the Priest join the force. So we are already at an extra person where we started off versus Shining Force 2. So I'm going to start, now that I've got my basic force for now, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the slight changes to the game. The class system is the same, the promotion system is in effect. We can promote, instead of level 20 like in Shining Force 2, it's at level 10, at least for Scenario 1. So we'll actually be promoting a lot earlier in the game than we did in Shining Force 2. Symbios is a class of soldier instead of swordsman. Like Bowie was in Shining Force 2, there is a slight difference in how a lot of this is handled. And to explain that, we're going to look at the status screen. He's got underneath his portrait a list for support. In this game there is a friendship system, which we see this tab over here, that lists what in between the characters' portraits, it says what level of friendship they have, and at the very bottom it says support has no effect. Well, once those characters are in battle together often, and they start dealing damage or working together with against the same foes, so say Symbios attacks a soldier and weakens him, and Dantarius gets the finishing blow, it counts as the two of them took down that foe. And the more that happens, they'll build up a friendship when they work together. And when they do work together, those characters will get a support bonus while being next to each other. Symbios' support ability is he increases the attack of people who have friendship with him, and the higher the level of the friendship rating, the higher the attack bonus becomes. So in working together, you build up these bonds that make being near them stronger and give them better effects. Everyone has some sort of an effect. Symbios gives attack. Dantarius has what's called Succumb, which actually decreases enemy critical hit rates. So that's actually really good because it prevents them from using special attacks more often. Mascarin gives a magic support. Grace gives magic, defense, and luck. Hers is actually fantastically strong because luck is a very important stat in this game for the melee units, which we'll get into that in just a second. Magic is handled a little bit differently in this game. You've got the magic that you've learned, which Symbiosis only has return level 1, costs 8 MP, and has a power of nothing because all it does is cast return. But down at the bottom you see magic resistance. You've got fire, ice, lightning, wind, light, and dark. And those... all spells in this game are attached to one of those elements. So if you've got a higher fire magic resistance, you're going to take less damage from fire-based spells. But if you have no resistance, you're going to take whatever the full amount close to it is going to be. And that kind of sucks for a lot of people because some of them don't have magic resistance in certain areas. Dantarius is really good in fire. Mascarin has really good all around because she's a mage. Magic users are going to have higher magic resistance. That's the trade-off. Melee units aren't going to have it. But look, Grace has -5, so she'll actually take more damage from dark-based spells because she's a healer and because of what she's got equipped. Actually, I think the -5 is just her, because... actually, it might be the wooden rod. Weapons are also the next big thing that we're going to get into. As you can see here, we have one slot for a weapon that we can have equipped. Right underneath that, we have a slot for an accessory that can be equipped. So each character can have a weapon and an accessory, and then you can carry 4 items. So once you have something equipped, it no longer counts as items that you're carrying like in Shining Force 2. So that'll work out a little well for Dantarius, because then that means he can hold a melee weapon and then a ranged weapon as well, and then still have 3 items, as opposed to in Shining Force 2, Chester could only have a ranged weapon, a melee weapon, and 2 items. So it does kind of help out a little bit for that. But one major thing next to it, if you look on the left, you see level 1 type, level, and specials. Level 1 sword is the basic. Or that's his actual level. Underneath the level, which is level 0, is the starting stat for Symbiosis sword skill. And everyone's going to start off with a level 0 weapon at this point. But what that does is, when you stick with a particular type of weapon for a long period of time, you will gain experience in that. And then once you gain enough experience, it'll go up a level, and when you go up a level, you learn a special attack, which in this game, the special attacks replace critical hits. So the higher you are with a certain type of weapon, the more proficient you are, the more specials you have, meaning the more likelihood you'll use a special attack, because it's a percentage based for the level 1, level 2, and level 3. And if you've worked up to level 3, then there's a percentage that you can hit level 3, but then the percentages for level 1 and 2 are still also there, so it's a higher likelihood that you will use a special ability, but that's also based off of your luck stat. The higher luck, the more likelihood that you will use one of those special attacks. Now, getting into the different types of weapons, there is a really big you know, I'll just get into that because I've been here for 9 minutes now. So that's probably the most boring thing ever. We're gonna stop. Okay, so yeah, bad editing on that one. So yeah, I'll get into the weapons and whatnot in a little bit. I'll get into that during the next slow bit. So we're gonna look around, and as with previous Shining Force games and with RPGs in general, you can look around and steal people's stuff. And that's quite fun, isn't it? Everyone loves stealing other people's stuff. So, we're gonna look around. I do apologize if the first half of this video was a little boring. There's so much to talk about in this game that I got a little sidetracked. So, I'll go ahead and talk about the weapons since I'm wandering around looking at stuff now. So, the weapons have a unique trait of kind of following in the Fire Emblem theme of the weakness triangle, kind of like Pokemon, the starting Pokemon with the fire, grass, and water. In this game, it's swords, axes, and lances, very much like Fire Emblem. And swords are strong against axes, axes are strong against lances, lances are strong against swords. And here we have someone with a name in blue and a portrait, which means they are important. Hayward. He was a mercenary looking for a master archer and ended up here in Saraband as one of the bridge guards, but he's thinking about moving on again. That's foreshadowing if I ever heard it. So, with the weapons you've got, but then each weapon also has several subtypes. With swords you have general swords, which is what we have equipped now. You have blades, which is kind of what Symbios is depicted having in the opening scene. It's a larger blade with kind of a curved end, but just the end is curved, kind of like an odd scimitar or katana type thing. So, and then the last sword weapon is a rapier. Now, there's a dagger weapon that counts as a sword for purposes, but it is also a ranged weapon. It gives you an attack of a different space. So there's lots of stuff to take into account with that. And then you also have character preferences. Some characters are going to do better with one specific subclass of weapon versus another. So, Symbios, for example, even though he's depicted with having a blade in the opening movie, he will actually be better off with general swords in Scenario 1 because of what swords are available, and the strongest sword in Scenario 1 is just a general sword weapon, which gives him a special attack, so you'll want to work up general swords. Now, you may want to... I mean, if you've got the time and the inclination to do a lot of power leveling, you can level up all the different weapons. Because for the bulk of the game, rapiers are actually going to be better off than swords for Symbios, because rapiers add bonuses to either critical, agility, or both. So it's one of those, you wanna weigh your options and figure out what you want to do with it. I, for example, am going to be using a different weapon for Danterius than is actually recommended for him for Scenario 1. Scenario 1, it's generally assumed that lances are his best weapon. And I just really don't like the lance weapons. I really don't. They're just not as... The lance weapons become a little bit better toward the end of the game, but the lance specials are just boring and bland, and I'm not a fan of them. The weapon that I'm actually going to be using for him is a subset called a halberd, and I will be using that as opposed to the lances, because I think it gives him a little more of a utilitarian ability. So it's all in play preference. How do you want to play it? But just know, statistically, there are some advantages, and there are going to be people out there that say, this is statistically better, so therefore it is better. Well, that may be true, but if it doesn't fit your play style, then it doesn't matter how statistically better it's going to be, because if you can't get it to work like you want it to, it's going to be more difficult, which is going to hinder its ability to be useful. So, all things to take into consideration. And I always feel that there should be something back here, but there's not. So, there are a lot of hidden items in this town. As you've seen, I've mostly found gold and a potion. And there is a bouncing egg thing. It makes noise. I don't know what the hell that is. Found 10 more gold. Gold is quite useful in this game. Like any other game, it's much more useful early on as it is now. But yeah, gold, money is money. We want money. I want money. Alright, so we want to open this, and we find the health bread. And the health bread, we're going to go ahead and use. Health bread raises maximum HP. We're going to use that on Symbios, because he doesn't... Mascaron has the lowest health at the moment, but Symbios only has one more defense than Mascaron, and he's going to be a frontline character, so we're going to need that sort of boost. And 3 is actually a very respectable number. The random stat items in this game, I believe, function just the same as Shining Force 2. It is a random stat between X and Y. So, like health bread can be anywhere between 2 and 4. So 3 is respectable. It's good. Alright, there's lots of people in town. We don't really care too much about these people. We can go up here. We can talk to him. I'm not a coward. I just get sick of making a living by killing people all the time. Whatever floats your boat, man. However, you haven't had enough battle experience. So tell me after you've killed some people how you feel about doing laundry instead of killing people. Well, I haven't killed anyone yet, and I'd say it's not too bad of an alternative. Alright, so next we're going to stop in here. We have ventured... How Saraband is set up, it's set up with the Imperial side on the left, or the Imperial side on the right, the Republic side on the left. We've ventured through the Republic side and the center area, which is neutral. So I'm going to go ahead and save it, and then in the next installment, we are going to go over into the Republic or the Imperial side and see how that goes. I'm banking not well, and just like any other Shining game, we can save. Go ahead and save it on the on the system itself. And if adventure is saved, we can resume it anytime. Yeah, we'll resume it in the next installment. So, till then, later everyone.